In this lesson, we're going to take a look at reviewing the exercise for removing the branding and kind of updating the UI to make it look like the Running for Brews website. So I gave you the instructions in the previous lesson. We talked about what we needed to do. And so here I'm going to kind of walk through a few things that I did and show you just the different places that I changed code in, a couple of things that I ran into, and where you can get the code. So first off, if you go to the main repo here, we have a couple branches. I created that homepage exercise and then a homepage exercise complete. So if you pull the homepage exercise branch, that's going to be to start from. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and pull that, watch the previous lesson, and go ahead and try it yourself. And then the complete is kind of the snapshot after that, because eventually the master branch is basically going to have everything. So you can go ahead and work on those two branches. So what I did first was I went over to the Running for Brews website and I kind of looked at this top header and I said, all right, well, I want to use that logo and I kind of want the same look and feel for the homepage of our application. So that's what I did. I pulled this logo, this kind of beer background that we're going to place on our homepage when you're not logged in. And then that's really what I started with. I think I grabbed this image and also took a look at the source code and found out what font they were using there. So I pulled that down using Google Fonts as well. So let's take a look at the app here. So here we are. This is our JHipster app now. I'm using that logo. And you can see I have a white background and I have black text here. I have that photo. I have the title. I have another title here along with some Bacon Ipsum just kind of placeholder text because I'm not sure what's going on this page yet, so I just put some placeholder text in there. And then we have the footer here that says copyright, company, the year, the current year, and then the Running for Brews. So let's jump into a few of these things. So first off, in the nav bar, if you go to nav bar component, we have that logo image, and before that was displaying JHipster logo along with the version and the title, I think it was. So all I did was back that out. There's the logo image. If we go inside the navbar CSS, there's the logo image. I just replaced it with our image. So now all images are going to go here under content and images. So that works out well. And again, one of the things I really love about Angular is how everything is kind of componentized. Like we have this navbar component, we have the HTML, we have the TypeScript, and then we have the CSS file right inside that folder. Long gone are the days of me going to some global CSS file and digging through hundreds of styles trying to find out the section where, you know, the logo styles are. And that's just really a pain in the butt. I love just being able to know where my styles are for a particular component. So that really works out well. Then what I did is I just changed the navbar to have a background color of white. And then if we go into the footer, so in the footer, I have a copyright, company, current year. So now you can see that current year is a variable. So if we go into our footer component, I'm just creating a new current year variable here of type number. And in the constructor, I'm just grabbing the current year, setting the date, or getting the date and getting the full year. So that works out well. And then I can just pass that down. And then I don't have static text that I got to replace later. Inside my home component, I just changed, again, I didn't have to delete anything. The home component was already there. This is going to be the base for the application when you're not logged in, or maybe even when you're logged in. All I did was kind of update the content here. So we have this one side that is now spanning 4 columns, and we have our header here. And then, like I said, I brought that image over. And again, that's under the content images folder. And then here's my placeholder text that just kind of goes there. So that's that. And then inside of home CSS, again, I have CSS that's relevant to my home component and not kind of scattered throughout the application. So the one thing I did do was I brought down that font. It's called Walter Turncoat. And that's what's being used here on the home page. Now the way that we got that into here is if you go to index.html, I'm just linking to it like I normally would. So that code was kind of given to me by Google Fonts, so I just dropped that into our index.html, and now I can refer to that over my home component using the CSS. So those are the main things, and then I did stumble across one thing that kind of tripped me up for a second, and let's talk through that real quick. So let me close these out. And we want to look at the main. So let's take a look at this. So right now you can see that my background and my content goes to the edge. If I were to log in and look at, say, our locations, you could see I have this gutter here and this kind of like well, and I like this for all of our administration screens. So I wanted to leave that the same, but for the home, I didn't want that gutter. I wanted this content running right up to it because it just looked really weird with the background. So that's what I wanted. And if you look at the main component, which kind of sets everything up for us, we had this card and JH card on every class. So even in the home component, that class was there. I needed to find a way to say, if you are the home, if you are our default route here, I don't want those particular classes on this div. So what we did in the main component here is we get our router. So we have an instance of our router here. So on our router, we have something called a URL. So what we're doing here is using ng-class. And if you're not familiar with ng-class, it's a directive in Angular that allows us to basically evaluate some expression. And if that expression evaluates to true, then we can go ahead and add a class. So on the left is the class or classes. You can see I added two here. It's just a string that we want to add. And on the right is what the evaluation is going to be. So what we're saying is, as long as the router.url doesn't equal /, so that's our home route, then I want you to go ahead and add these classes to our div. So that's how we were able to still use that on all of the other templates and components and just not use it on the home page. So like I said, that one thing was just something that I kind of tripped up on that I was able to fix. So we are good with our homepage. Again, there's some things to clean up. I need to fix the favicon here. I went through and started cleaning up some of these entities so they don't say like RFB event or RFB location. We just want them to be locations and events. So I went and cleaned through some of those up after this branch that I pulled. And actually in one of the future exercises, we're going to go through and do something with that as well. So again, UI doesn't look great, doesn't need to. We're building a pretty simple app here. But I hope this was helpful, starting and coming up with some requirements and actually building out what we needed to, things that we needed to change in the generated code. Again, it gives us a great starting point. I think it usually gets us 80% of the way there. That last 20 is up to us, but man, I would not want to do this from scratch. So I'm really thankful for the work that JHipster gets done right out of the box for us. So with that, I hope if you had any questions on the exercise or things that you tripped into or had issues with, let me know in the comments, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.